Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. My name is Patrick Byrd, and tonight we are at the Irwindale Speedway, located just 25 minutes from downtown LA. So many movies, TV shows, you name it, they've probably shot an episode here. For 8 weeks, this place was home to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where he shot some sort of crazy show here, took down the whole track, filled it up with these big giant rock climbing walls. Absolutely insane. But tonight we're using this track for what it was meant for, and that's bringing these sprint cars and all other sorts of race cars on this pavement, going as fast as humanly possible. Joining me in the booth tonight will be the one and only James Watson, a connoisseur of these crazy little open wheel cars. He runs the Silver Crown cars, runs the PM18s. Occasionally you can catch him in an Indy car. Not so much a sprint car driver, but Watson, your short track experience is going to help me immensely navigating this crazy race tonight.
Yeah, it's funny what you were talking about with The Rock. You say bringing back the things that belong here, but somehow these cars are still crazier than anything he's done with this track. Yeah, these are ridiculously little high-powered cars. I've spent a lot of time in them. I just don't get to drive them as often as I used to, but when the opportunity arises, I love to jump in these things and try not to die, which, as you've seen, isn't always easy.
Yeah, a couple episodes of Fear Factor were actually shot here at the Irwindale Speedway, and, I'd like to tell Joe Rogan, screw all the Fear Factor stuff, build a two-seater sprint car and just strap your contestants in the back of that thing and let these drivers take them around this place. Currently, your pole sitter is going to be Mr. Derek Love right there in that number 3 machine with a 16.017, 0.2 of a second faster than any other driver in the field. Dan Smith, though, nearly going quick time. Rich Foreman taking over the top spot.
That's a heck of a lap from him.
Yeah, Connor Knowlton showing on track. If we can get our TV machine to work, maybe we can see his car. We watch along with Tracy Petter finishing up with his laps. Beautiful old school Miller High Life scheme. Tracy Petter going to be your quick time on the board. Jeffrey Stanton running around the high line. Down the front stretch, looks like he's going to take his second lap. And it's only going to be good enough for the 6th position. About a quarter of a second back from Tracy Petter, who is your fastest man here. Not yet to take a time will be Josh Batista. Matthew Pilas in the number 4 car is out on track right now, as he completes his first lap, getting ready to start his second time lap. The high line is always been the fast line here. I'm not sure why. Do you know if this track is progressively banked?
It is. It's basically it's a West Coast Indianapolis Raceway Park. Almost exactly the same shape, similar banking design. So you basically just drive it almost the exact same way. I've always felt a little more comfortable with Irwindale than IRP because Irwindale is a lot smoother. It's not as rough as IRP, so in some cases it's easier to deal with.
Yeah, Irwindale being built, I believe, in the mid-90s. I finished up in 99, I think, so much newer pavement here than there is at IRP. IRP being completed either in the 50s or early 60s. So definitely a lot more modern track design and track building went into this place. Mitch Stravnosky, you just watched him go 3rd quick on the boards, still about a 10th off of your current pole sitter, Tracy Petter. Josh Batista is still yet to go out on track and take time. Same thing with Nathan Little in the number 10 car and Ted Lee in the number 16 car.
So I haven't been able to follow along with the sprint cars in the last season or two, so I don't know how many races he's been in recently, but for me personally, it's a bit of a blast from the past to see Matthew Pilas back in the car. When I first started running the sprint cars back in 2020, Matt was the guy to beat week in, week out. The things that he could do with this car was absolutely incredible. I think he won, like, at the very least, almost all the races that I competed in my first 3 or 4 seasons in the asphalt sprint car. So for me, it's nice to see him back out here, and it's very interesting to see him not on the pole. It just further shows you how insane of a talent Tracy Petter is.
Yeah, frankly, I don't think I've ever seen his name pop up here, but it's very rare that I do make the sprint car shows to cover them, so that's probably why. Definitely a very quick driver, put himself second quick, and he's the closest one to Tracy Petter, still almost 0.03 of a second off of that 15.831 that Petter put down. Just 10 seconds remain in qualifying, which means this is the way your field is going to sit. There are no cars on track. Everyone's getting up, stretching their legs a little bit before we hunker down and get ready to go racing. And that will conclude your qualifying for tonight's race at Irwindale Speedway. Or I guess today's race. Looks like it's daytime here still in Los Angeles. So your pole sitter is going to be Tracy Petter in the number one car, spot. Second place is going to be Matthew Pilas in the number 4 machine. Mitch Drevnosky going to be starting in the 3rd position. Rich Foreman to his outside in that number 9 car. Derek Love going to be in the 5th position inside of the 3rd row. To his outside will be the number 6 machine of Connor Knowlton. Next up in the 7th position will be the 7 car of Austin Rich Miller. A lot of drivers matching where their I ratings predicted them to be. Jeffrey Stanton to his outside in the number 5 machine. Dan Smith is going to be starting 9th. To his outside will be Jason Gardner rounding out your top 10. Richard Homan and James Nunn going to be 11th and 12th. Next row back, we'll have Jason Lee Ford in the 13 machine in the 13th spot. To his outside will be Aaron Parsons. Behind that pair will be Josh Batista and Nathan Little, and all by himself on the back row will be Ted Lee. So Tracy Petter in that 98 machine. Timing and scoring will show him in the number 1 car. Once again, running a Hutter Racing Engines paint scheme. A engine shop that is very local to me here in Northeast Ohio. Built some of the fastest machines ever to run a NASCAR circuit. They also made famous a Pro Stock Dodge Stratus in the early 2000s, but the pace car is in. It's time to get sprint car racing.
Let the insanity begin.
Not a lot of room. Every car running the high line there, and Petter is off to a fantastic start. Easily clearing the field, gets away from everyone. Behind them will be Mitch Drevnosky and Derek Love. Single file all the way back. You got to look all the way to the 7th position of Austin Rich Miller to find a 2x2 battle. Miller in that number 7 car in the Miller High Life scheme, running the low line. Clean and green for the first set of laps. Usually in the sprint cars, we have a caution fest for the first lap or two, and then they go green the rest of the way. Now, caution laps do not count here in the sprint car series, so even though this is 55 laps, that is 55 green flag laps. We could run 300 laps if these drivers want to keep wadding cars up, but right now they kept it green almost all the way to the 5th lap of the race. Mitch Drevnosky going quick time, chasing down Tracy Petter. Right now the gap sits about 1/10 of a second.
He's looking to the inside.
Yep, gonna take the dive to the inside. Drevnosky not gonna clear though. Petter's going to have the momentum on the high side. It's a drag race cross line. Give that one to Tracy Petter, but only by a small margin.
Slide job.
Petter now going to the inside line. These drivers are crossing themselves up. Drevnosky diving down to the low side. He's going to have the mark across the line. Drevnosky leads that lap.
Train sliders, you'll love to see it. You know who else loves to see it? Matt Pilas right there.
Yeah, this is allowing Matt Pilas in that number 4 machine to catch up to these two that are battling side by side each and every lap. Drevnosky taking the high side, Petter on the low side. Continuing side by side, they make their way across the stripe once again. These laps are blistering fast. 15, 16-second laps for these cars. We are already almost on lap 10 and a fifth of the way through this show. Unbelievable how quick these guys can tick laps by. This is your closest battle on track for these top 4 positions. It's not that we don't want to show the back of the field. It's just these guys up front are doing such a great job of keeping our cameras on them.
That's going to be about it for the battling here for a little bit. With how close Pilot is in 4th place Derek Love are, I don't think these two want to run the risk of letting one or both of them by.
Yeah, the whole field sitting about single file. You got to move all the way back to 5th place is Connor Knowlton. This is where the second peloton of cars is, so that top 4 is starting to run away. Looks like the number 9 of Rich Foreman is trying to get a dive on the inside of Connor Knowlton, but not able to get anything done just yet. He needs to close that gap up about another 1/10 a second or so. Now, it might be a little early to call this, but I have never seen a sprint car race go flag to flag. And these guys seem to be doing a really great job. The field is spread out now. They kind of got in that groove, and it's almost like the Silver Crown races where if you haven't gotten one yet, I don't think we are going to get one.
Yeah, honestly, in my experience, the Sprint Car SOF goes caution-free a lot more often than the Silver Crown does. Like, even the lower guys in the split, quote-unquote, have to be really talented because if you suck, you're not going to be able to get this car to go very far, and those who just can't handle it aren't going to sign up for the races.
Yeah.
Although, as I say that,
caution is out on the field. Looks like an issue for Mitch Drevnosky. Oh, that is right. My replay tool isn't going to work because I use timing and scoring for that. You can see it going crazy because the caution laps don't count. iRacing has no idea where these cars belong, and neither does my timing and scoring software until we go back green once again. So not quite sure who was involved in that incident. We'll see if we can track down who it was and what happened to him.
it was, let's see, about there. Looks like the 12 car of James Nunn, he just got a bit of a tank slapper coming off of turn 2 and just nosed into the wall and spent the rest of the back straightaway flipping.
There we go. Tank slapper, up the wall, back straightaway. Flipping. James, you called that perfectly.
He landed on his wheels, though. He's got a meatball, but at least he was able to drive it back to the pit road.
How about that 10 car, though? Keeping the wheels spinning doesn't stall the machine. No starters in these cars, so if you stop that car and you stall, your race is done. So fantastic job keeping that thing going. He's going to continue on, and since the caution flag was already out, he doesn't lose a spot for it.
One thing I just noticed was we had a extra entrant that is not on the track. Josh Batista signed up but was not able to make the race. I'm guessing it's another Rogers related problem.
I love how there's a pit lane inside this track when we run the outer circuit, but there's also the big pit lane garage area on the outside of the track. It's very similar to how Riverhead and a lot of other short tracks do it. Lights are out on the pace car, though. The pace car is going to dive in. These guys are going to get ready to go back under green once again. So your leader right now is going to be Mitch Drevnosky. Tracy Petter going to be right behind him. Matthew Pilas, Derek Love, and Connor Knowlton will make up your top 5. Petter getting antsy on the restart. Calls it perfectly, though. Stays hooked to the rear bumper of Mitch Drevnosky. Going to make the dive. Side by side into turn number 3 and 4. Out of turn 4, it's going to be a drag race across the line. Give that one to Mitch Drevnosky. Petter gets the advantage into turn number 1, but coming out of turn number 2, once again, it'll be Drevnosky side by side, dead even into turn number 3, into the braking zone. Petter has the advantage this time. Across the line, barely. Drevnosky once again.
A little bit of a battle for fourth here, too. Derek is under some extreme pressure from Knowlton.
We'll dive down, look at that battle going on. Right as soon as we cut to them, nothing happened. So we'll cut back to your leaders as they are still battling. Not as intensely. Petter's getting the wind up, though, almost like a little toy car that you got to wind the back of it up. Getting that big gap built and hopefully going to try and rocket past that number 2 machine of Mitch Drevnosky.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the cars are going to start driving here. We've got a fair amount of cloud cover on the track right now, so very curious to see how that's going to change some of the setups out there right now.
Yeah, an uncharacteristically cloudy day here for Southern California. Whole field going to be single file, at least as far as the camera can see, looking up and down, timing and scoring. Not a battle going on the racing surface. Yeah, and it looks like we're starting to have a fight develop here for the 3rd position between that number 4 machine of Matthew Pilas and the number 3 car of Derek Love. That gap is starting to close up. Only going to be about 1/10 of a second between those two as they exit turn number 2. All this battling back here for the 3rd position, though, it has allowed Drevnosky and Petter to start running away from the field. The gap to the 2nd place car is about half a second. Yeah, you can see it's the entire length of that restart zone there coming out of turn number 4. So we'll go a little bit further back in the pack, but watch this battle between Connor Knowlton and Jeffrey Stanton. Stanton all over the rear fuel tank of Connor Knowlton. Brings that car right up to the tail of it. But you're going to have to run a different line if you want to get by him. You can't drive through another car. Got to dive down low and try and get the slide job done. Very difficult to do here at Irwindale with all the extra banking on the high side, though. As we've now crossed the halfway point of this race, it is only going to be 28 laps to go in this one. Stanton now looking to the inside of Connor Knowlton. Going to try and break his way into the top 5. Slides underneath. Is going to slide up. Has to back out of it. Gets the spot over the line, but he is not clear yet.
Oh, caution.
Caution is out on the speedway. Who is involved?
So, the 10 car got the wall and got airborne, and then 2 cars behind him came together trying to avoid it. Looks like the 15 of Aaron Parsons and 16 of Ted Lee.
Here we go. Just gets a little bit loose coming off turn 4. Maybe not turn 4. Maybe it was the backstretch there. At a turn number... Nope, I'm just guessing. Yep, gets in the wall, gets up into the air, and behind him, a lot of carnage going on. It's going to be the 16 car and 15 car involved. See if we could ride on board for this look.
Here, the
Oh,
only
yeah, and help going
that
around.
was the 16.
Oh, and we lose all camera footage until after the incident happens. So, only going to be 27 laps remaining, half the distance complete, half the distance to go. Looks like we've had a pretty good sprint car show going on so far. Although these guys never disappoint. You stuff almost 900 horsepower into these 410 cubic inch small block V8 engines. These things just absolutely love to scream.
Especially when you put them at tiny racetracks such as this.
Lights are still on the iRacing safety car. So we're going to be at least one more lap under caution here. And there you go. You see it right there. Lights are out on the safety car. This is going to be the last time before we go back under green. Pace car dives off the field, makes their way into turn number 4, getting ready to get underway. And away they go down the start-finish line. Tracy Petter already trying to get underneath that number 21 machine of Mitch Drevnosky. Still side by side in the turn number 3 and 4. Out of the corner, give that lap too close to call, I would think. Timing and scoring does give it to Tracy Petter, but only barely. These guys still battling intensely. Drevnosky's going to have the high side, though. Going to try and run away with it once again. Not before Tracy Petter has anything to say about it. Gives it another stab towards the inside. Not able to get clear, though. Mitch Drevnosky with their new fastest lap of the race at a 15:9:23.
And he did that in a battle for his life. That is incredible. Oh, got another serious battle right behind. They're side by side for P3.
Yep, we'll back off and we'll go to the battle that's shaping up between Derek Love, Matthew Pilas, and Jeffrey Stanton, trying to get himself involved in this one as well. Pilas and Stanton. Stanton brushes the wall a little bit. Those cars have to back out of it. Very close call there between Pilas and Knowlton now. Knowlton taking the dive on Stanton. Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't think the heat cycle roulette was kind to Pilas there. As 2 spots off of the restart he's lost.
Yeah, and Pilas getting very loose off of turn number 4 once again there. Now the car's understeering, pushing up all the way to the outside wall. Has to back out of it. Very easy off of turn number 2. Let's see if it tries to snap on him out of 4 once again. That time, it seems like he's got the car under control. Jeffrey Stanton trying to make a move on Derek Love. Derek Love gets a big run off of the corner, though, and is able to run away from Stanton just a little bit. Oh, looks like Drevnosky touches the wall there, allows Petter to get on by. Going to try the slider in the turn number 1. Not quite able to clear. Those cars are going to get very close to touching. Going to have another chance to dive into it in turn number 3. This time successfully slides up, but Drevnosky's going to cross him up, get to the low side, and try it again in turn number 1. Huge slide job. Brushes the wall. And now Petter to the inside. Petter's going to clear before they make their way into turn number 3. Slides up. Drevnosky's now going to cross him up and go down low. Give that lap to Tracy Petter. These guys are just trading laps led back and forth. still side by side out of turn number 4. That lap, Petter had him cleared when they went over the start-finish line. Drevnowski's going to take another big slide to the bottom. Very, very tight in the mid-corner there. And brushes the wall, gets those front tires up in the air. Once again into the wall.
Yeah, he did about a half Chastain right there. I have no idea how he survived that.
Yeah, that does not work without fenders, I don't think.
It does not. I can confirm that personally.
Lap traffic looks like it's going to be in the way, but they are going to stay low, allow these leaders to take the preferred line on the high side. And now Petter's going to try and run away from Drevnowski. Whole field single file. As long as we don't get another caution, this could be the way the race plays out, as long as none of these guys get themselves into any trouble, make any big mistakes. Once again, Drevnowski brushing that right rear tire up against that outside retaining wall. You'll notice no safer barriers here at Irwindale Speedway. Most of the cars that race here aren't fast enough to quite need them, as well as the turns are fairly wide, so you're not going to get a lot of head-on contact. But with these sprint cars, I would consider this track a little bit too tight for these things without maybe a more modern retaining wall, but this is still one of the safest facilities that you can bring these sprint cars to. A lot of tracks are not national level tracks that get weekly sprint car races.
I tell you, that 3 car is really starting to make some gains here.
Yeah, the 3 car of Derek Love trying to catch these top 2 cars. Last lap for Derek Love was a 16:044, about 0.02 of a second faster than the guys in front of him, but it's just enough. Going to get the inside on Drevnowski. They're going to be side by side coming out of turn number 2. Drevnowski clears him, going to hold on to the second position.
The only person watching this fight that's enjoying it more than us is Tracy Petter right now.
Yeah, Tracy Petter is watching this. Or is he? Last time I checked, these things don't have rearview mirrors. He has not a clue what's going on behind him. The only thing he knows is he can faintly hear them getting quieter and quieter.
I mean, he has a relative.
All right, well, you might as well call it a video game at that point.
iRacing? Video game? Of course not.
But only going to be 5 laps remaining. Still, these guys are going side by side. Closest battle on track is going to be for second there. Just over a 10th as they cross the line. Give that one to Drevnowski. Petter now almost a full second in the good for that first position. It's almost like nothing can happen to his race lead. But saying that, hopefully I didn't curse him, or maybe I did. These caution flag laps do not count. So if the caution were to come out any point before the white flag comes out, these guys can have another restart attempt to get this race underway. These 2 guys now closing the gap on Drevnowski down to about 0.8 of a second. Derek Love barely brushes the outside wall there. Looks like Petter's going to get slowed down by some lap traffic. And it is going to be the final lap. Tracy Petter makes his way down the back straightaway through turns number 3 and 4. Clear as can be. Derek Love making the huge move to the bottom side. It's going to be Petter first across the line. Mitch Drevnowski coming home second. And Derek Love with the ballsy move to go below that yellow line. Doesn't pay off, but he doesn't lose anything. Comes home in the 3rd position. Tracy Petter not looking to show off, not looking to do some donuts or even an attenuator party, just parks it right on the front stretch and hits the escape key and gets off track. So your race winner tonight is going to be New York's very own Tracy Petter. Showed up in the 1 car and proved why he was in it. Over 3/4 of a second ahead of Mitch Drevnowski, I believe is his teammate. Both those cars running very, very similar paint schemes. Mitch Drevnosky out of the New England region is going to come home second. Derek Love will be your third place car. Jeffrey Stanton is going to come home in the fourth position, and rounding out your top 5 will be Matthew Pilas. Connor Knowlton, Rich Foreman, Dan Smith, Austin Rich Miller, and Jason Lee Ford are going to make up your top 10. Behind that group of drivers will be Richard Homan finishing in the 11th position, Jason Gardner in 12th, Nathan Little in 13th, Aaron Parsons 14th, Ted Lee coming home 15th, 16th we'll have James Dunn, and Josh Batista unfortunately not able to make the race tonight. It's time to bring up some of our drivers for an interview and get their thoughts on how they made it happen and what they could have done differently. First up, we will bring in third place finisher Derek Love. There we go, got to hit the right buttons first. Derek Love coming home in the third position. A ballsy move there going below the yellow line on the last lap in the final corner. Did you think that move would pay off?
No, I didn't at all. But I knew just driving behind him wasn't going to pay off because we've been doing that, and we spent almost more time just trying to avoid making sure he's getting in the wall or something. His car was just a handful for him in front of us there, and I just wanted to be on the outside. You know, he wasn't going to quite leave me the room. He knew I was going to run there. Man, I had to sneak by Pilas earlier. I got to look at that replay, running that outside and just sneaking around him. Thankfully, he gave me enough room to make it work. But, yeah, no, you just got to throw it down the inside there and just hope maybe he catches the wall or something, and you can just, you know, drive away to the position.
Can't win if you don't gamble.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, you know, another 10, 15 laps, man. We would have a little bit different story.
Well, hopefully later this year we might be able to get an endurance race here going for these sprint cars. Maybe with the release of Anderson Speedway in the future, or even Slinger, we can get a little 500 going. It's fantastic watching you here tonight, Derek. Why don't we get some sponsor plugs and thank yous in?
Yeah, shout out to the babes back at the shop for the Street Side Classics machine. Put it up here on the podium. We'd love to win, but we'll be doing that later this week here throughout the week. Running this machine out here on the sprint car. See you soon.
Hell yeah, well, thanks for coming out, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week. Next up, we are going to bring in Mitch Drevnosky, your second place finisher. If my buttons want to work, my Discord's being a little funny, not wanting to move people where they need to go, but Mitch Drevnosky put it almost where it needed to be, led a ton of laps tonight, just not the most important one. Still a fantastic showing for you. What happened there at the end, man, was the car looked like it was falling off, looked like it was getting a bit tight, just missed the mark on setup, or did the weather change on you?
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been a weather thing. I think the track did cool down there a little bit, but it was a little tight in certain areas, especially when Tracy got under me. You know, you kind of have to stay a little tighter to the wall, so it would get real tight, and then I got to keep it off the fence and not get into him, and then it was loose off. We were burning a little bit of fuel there, and the car just went away. I wish I could have closed it out, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Still looks like you guys were having a fantastic time out there between you and Tracy. It seemed like every corner someone was on the inside, someone different was on the inside, whether it was on the front stretch or the back stretch. Constant slide jobs and crossovers. Would you say you had a fun time here tonight?
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Not notoriously the greatest here. Not my favorite track, but we had a good little battle there, so that made it interesting. Just wish I could have closed it out, but good job to Tracy. Good job to everyone.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming out. Why don't we get some of your sponsor plugs and thank yous in?
Yeah, just everyone at EPI, SRS, doing hard work, building good sets. Everyone for showing up. Another good field tonight, and you guys for broadcasting as always.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you very much, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week.
Thanks.
Finally, it's time to bring in the man who put it on the point. Tracy Petter is going to be your race winner tonight. Tracy, absolutely fantastic show here. You got the pole, you finished in the lead, but a lot of laps in between. Mitch Drevnosky was in front of you. Were you just letting him get in front, burning his stuff up, or?
Honestly, he's normally always faster than me here, so once he got to my inside, I didn't really put up too much of a fight, and then had a really good restart on that last restart, so I just gave it everything I had in me to try to pass him, and he must have had a bad heat cycle or something, because he just seemed a little off after that restart. I was able to sneak by, and that sealed the deal.
Yeah, he was saying it felt like the track cooled down a little bit, car tightened up, and just trying from battling you, I guess, burnt off too much fuel, and that car did not want to turn at all.
I'm very fortunate that happened, because I would have got that win.
Well, you also have Derek Love to thank. Those two cars were battling very hard in those last 5 laps. Any other secrets, tricks that it took you to get this race win tonight, or was it all just dumb luck?
A little bit of luck and every single inch of sweat in my body to get that pass.
Well, hell yeah. One thing I've been wanting to ask you. Last night I saw you both were running schemes with the Hutter Racing Engines logo on it tonight. Once again, tonight you guys are as well. Is there any reason for running that, or just a cool logo to run?
Richie Evans, engine builder, was Hutter, so we really like Richie, so.
Oh, okay. He's
Hutter.
Ron Hutter was local here to me in Northeast Ohio. He was actually next door neighbors with my teacher in college.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Hell yeah, a lot of racing history going on in that shop, and a lot of racing history going down tonight with you in the lead here. Any sponsor plugs, thank yous you want to get in before we get off the air?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast, and shout out to EPI and SRS.
Hell yeah, well, thanks a ton for coming out, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, Watson, you're the California kid. What did you think of tonight's race here in Los Angeles?
I thought it was the best display you could see from Irwindale Speedway. You know, we got a good mix of good green flag action trying to set up the passes. We saw some awesome dueling sliders from Mitch and Tracy all race long. We saw the strategy and the effort it takes to try to get by, and we saw everyone just holding on for dear life. This was basically what it's like to drive this track, what we saw everyone dealing with. So it was just an awesome show from top to bottom.
Yeah, this show was absolutely fantastic. These cars put on a fantastic time here at the Irwindale Speedway, located just outside of Hollywood. I'd say this track is worthy of making the big screen. But that's going to be all for it tonight between me and James Watson and all of you people. Thank you very, very much. Chris Graham will be back here on the NASCAR Racing Network on Thursday, so if you got sick of hearing my voice on the call, you'll have him taking the lead over for Thursday. But that's it for me. You all have a fantastic night, and we'll catch you next time.